Well, hello. Howdy. Hi. Hey. How's it going? Welcome in, everybody. Long shot welcome in. Willie the Rat. Hello, hello. Oily crew. Hey, I'm oily here. Blaze driving to Miami. Goddamn. Dude, drive safe. How's it going? How's the drive so far? Bruce. Welcome in and welcome in. Hello, hello. It's so good to see ya. Hype train incoming. Goddamn. Brad, thank you so much for coming back for month 19. And Lion Dove GM, welcome back for month 2. It's so good to see you again. Thanks for coming on back. Lucetios, hello, hello. Welcome in. A Wolf Alone, hello, hello. Background while I get some late work done. Hi, as well, hey, this is perfect for that. I hope that you have a good time getting work done, and I hope that all is well. How the heck, how the heck are all y'all? How are y'all doing? It has been a couple of weeks since we've been back, and I'm not like at 100% after the con. I'm still feeling a little bit squiggly, but nothing to it but to keep on chugging through it. So how's life? How many of you guys went to Gen Con? It was awesome. It was so much fun. It was my first one. I don't think I've ever seen that many people all crammed into one room together, ever. Um, that one room being the vendor hall. I don't think I've ever seen that large of a room ever. It just kept going and going. Nick and I like did one, we got to do like one lap around the vendor hall, like one really good lap, and it was just sprawling, massive, crazy. Did you get the con crud? I did. I'm still struggling a teensy tiny bit, but hey, that's the risk you take. It could be worse. I didn't get COVID, which is crazy because I talked to a lot of people who tested positive for COVID later. Skunkworks, welcome in. Good to see you. What was the coolest thing at Gen Con? Oh man, the coolest thing at Gen Con, besides us. Um, Man, oh man, I didn't get to experience very much of it. I gotta say the coolest thing was all the people. So many people came up and were like so nice. It was just like warm and inviting, and everyone was nice. And like it's been a while since I in my like adult life have been in a space quite like Gen Con where it's like the cool thing to do is to just like walk up and introduce yourself to people. I've tried to do that a couple of times like at our gym here. Like, just like make conversation and be outgoing and say hi. And a lot of times in public places, no hate to these people, a lot of people are not really looking for a conversation out in public. But this was the kind of place where everyone was just like excited to chat, and it was fucking awesome. It was so cool. I feel like I met so many awesome people. Oh, buddy, cheap viewers. Here's the thing about that. Every one of our viewers is worth $1,000,000. Agile Monk, hello, hello. How are you doing today? It's so good to see you. Ooh, what is your favorite and least favorite aspects of the Siege engine? Man, it's so simple. I think my most favorite aspect of the Siege engine is that um, it encourages me to like be more narrative with how I'm thinking about whatever kind of game we're playing. Because it's not just like, okay, I do a perception check, or okay, I try to break the door down, I'll make an athletics check. Like, no, it's like I'm gonna pick a stat to use and then I'm gonna describe how it's relevant. And I think that that has gotten me and really our entire gaming group just telling better stories. Um, and that's been awesome. That's my most favorite part. My least favorite part of the Siege engine, I kind of can't really hate on it for anything. I just feel like there's nothing really wrong with it, you know? It hasn't really like frustrated me at all. That's a very like I work for this company answer. What are your favorite and least favorite aspects of the Siege engine? Hanging in there, glad you stayed away from COVID. Oh, oh buddy, did you get COVID? COVID is so scary and so terrible and awful. All these years later, I mean, it's so scary. And so 2020. It's so 4 years ago, however many years ago it was. I have totally like I was trying to remember something earlier today that like took place during like really the height of COVID, sometime within like the 2020 to 2021 era. And my memory of that entire time is so hazy, I can barely remember anything that happened or when it happened in that time period. It's crazy. Favorite scalability, least favorite when the scalability is ignored in the game. Yeah, that's super, super fair. I mean, I feel like you're gonna have, I don't want to say shitty game masters. I feel like you're gonna have game masters who miss the point in like any kind of tabletop RPG. Oh my God, speaking of like tabletop RPGs that like get the point, let me show you guys something that I got at Gen Con. Ooh, could you do me the biggest favor ever? Would you grab Terminus? The Terminus book? Not our setting Terminus. So we visited the Possum Creek booth, not sponsored. Yazuba's Bed and Breakfast. I'm so excited to play this. This is the same company that produced Wanderhome. This book, I read through it, I kind of flipped through it. It is a masterpiece, and I can just tell. Oh, thank you so much. We got a couple things from the Possum Creek gaming table. We got a hardcover of Wanderhome, first of all. This is going to be like an heirloom book that stays in our family for generations. We can already tell. This is going to be the first game that like our kids play. Like this is just oh, and it even smells like new book right now too. And then we got this one, Terminus, which is also from the same company. And this is a tabletop RPG for 2 players, 1 to 2 players, 1 or 2 players, and you play using a tarot deck, which is perfect because I have a tarot deck and love using it. And I'm so excited to play all of these. These are just like, they're just really like radically gentle, is how I've been kind of describing them. Um, but yeah, Yazuba's Bed and Breakfast is about like there's kind of a cast of characters. You can add or take some out as you see fit, but like there's a cast of characters and it's about like a bed and breakfast that's like magical. And all these like people have like arcs and stuff to do. Wander Home is about like kind of animal humanoids that like go on quests and do stuff. It's very, very open-ended. It's like the Red Dead Redemption of Possum Creek games. Um, and then Terminus is about, if I remember this correctly, and reading the back of the book here, you're playing the ghost of a place and like resolving like stuff that has happened in this place and like all sorts of stuff. So these were, I revised my previous answer. These are some of the coolest things at Gen Con. They're so cool. God, the other really cool thing that happened at Gen Con, the Shadow Dark RPG. They sweeped the floor at the Ennies. They cleaned up. That is awesome. You love to see it. They're always good and bad. Yeah, exactly. When you want to add your level or hit die, but the rules say half hit die or no. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, just like if you want to do it, then like, what are we gonna like call the castle police on you? call the castles in Crusade cops. That's the hidden C in C and C. There's a third silent C and it stands for cops. Because we'll get you if you break the rules. Those books are beautiful. They're even more beautiful on the inside. If you guys haven't checked out Possum Creek Games, I don't know if it's like a faux pas for me to be talking about like a different company when I'm working for one, but sorry, just making sure that everything's all right. I'm live on Instagram right now, and I just want to making sure that that's like going well. If you're on Instagram, hi. We are live on other places, but I'm mostly looking at the chat on Twitch. So yeah. Kelsey Dion crushed the Ennies. Is it Dion? Dion? I want to make sure that I say it right. It's awesome. She seems so cool. I I want to meet her so bad. Just shake her hand. She seems so fucking cool. Everyone that I know that's like talked to her talks about how like energetic and awesome and like just kind she is. And you can never have like too many people like that in the gaming space. I feel like there's so many like there's a mood, you know, of like kind of being like jaded and done with it and just to be like excited and so happy to be there. I want to meet like another golden retriever in the space. 20 lashes, no cross promotion. Damn it. I'll be tarred and feathered. Davis will find you. Davis will find me and I'll say a single thing about any of these books and it'll spark like a whole like 2 hour story. It'll be awesome. She and her spouse are so kind and humble. Dude, I bet. I've heard nothing but good things about those teams. Is this the Grace Smiles Coily Hour? It's the, if you want to know what about that? It's the, not that thing you said. Welcome in, Pat. It's good to see you. What was the best food you had during the con? I haven't been in a while, but Indianapolis used to have some great restaurants. Oh my God. Okay. So, what was it? Iguana something. It wasn't like the Iguana Cafe. It was no, the restaurant, the Mexican restaurant we went to. It was Iguana something.
No, that place was like next to the hotel. I think you went to a different place.
Well, there was a Mexican place that we went to.
They had a fire truck for sale.
They had a fire truck for sale.
$6,500.
Only $6,500. I still think that we should have bought it.
Oh.
Just I think like so I never like did I ever text that to Steve? I think I did. Cuz we were on our way to like so we were going to have dinner and then meet Steve and Dakota and Jeremy for like drinks and stuff. And we stopped at this Mexican restaurant. First of all, the food was amazing. It was so good. They had homemade salsa that was so fresh and so good, and so clean tasting. It tasted so like awesome. And yeah, they had a fire truck for sale, and I think we should have bought it, frankly. Who needs like a tour bus or like an RV or like a minivan or just anything for like transporting a lot of people and a lot of books? Who needs a pickup truck when you can have a fire truck for $6,500? It was beautiful. There are pictures of the fire truck up on Instagram, on the Trollord Instagram. Should we go back to Indianapolis and buy a fire truck?
We don't even know if it runs. We can call some Inspire.
There was no phone number on it, just the
Yeah, there was.
price.
No, there was a phone number.
Was there?
It had the price and a phone number. We
Oh
can take a
God.
photograph of it.
Did I dox somebody's phone number?
Well, no, they're trying to. Really,
It's
all you
fine.
did was advertise for them.
I just free advertise. Hey, fire truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's all a very long way of saying there was a Mexican restaurant. I wish I could remember the name, but it was amazing, and they had a fire truck for sale, and the food was good, and it was a very good time. Have you been to Gen Con before, Lorgrim? Did you just say you want to beat a golden retriever in the face? Yes. What now? There are a lot of third-party monster books for other tabletop RPGs. Would you say that CNC is due for some third-party love? Oh my god, always. Yeah, we have like a third-party publishing guideline situation on our website. Um, they are always up to like read people's work and see about like publishing it. I want to see like some more classes. I love the Adventurers backpack. I wrote a class for CNC and I'm still kind of workshopping it. But I want to see like a book of extended like unusual classes. Do you have 3 reasons why you shouldn't buy a fire truck? Um, you get too much puss. uh, um, I've got one good reason why you shouldn't buy a fire truck. Reason number one, people will expect you to put out fires. I mean, so here's the thing. You couldn't like buy a police car and like fight crime, you know? In theory maybe you could, but like that's technically vigilanteism, it's illegal. You can do it, but like there are consequences if you do that. Is anyone going to like have a problem if you purchase a fire truck, wear the little uniform, and like fight fires as you come across them? Is that like vigilanteism in the same way? I don't think it is. So there's nothing saying that you couldn't put out fires with your own $6,500 fire truck. I've put out so many fires in The Sims. I'm basically an expert. I could totally show me a house fire and I'll show you the best fire putter outer of all time. And you can take that to the bank. You want to buy a house first? Oh my god, I have no illusions about whether or not I'll be able to buy a house ever. Gas mileage is horrible, insurance will be high, won't fit in the garage. But, so, okay, so we have some challenges. How can we take those challenges and turn them into positives? Gas mileage is horrible. That just prompts us to figure out an alternative means with which to power the fire truck. I suggest blood magic.
I, yeah, that sounds great.
Nick says that sounds great.
I was gonna say, like, it doesn't have to fit in the garage if it is your garage and your house and everything.
If it is your garage and your house and everything, so you just live in the fire truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. So that's 2. What was the third thing? Insurance will be high. Don't pay for insurance.
Be uninsured.
Just be uninsured. It's fine.
Easier.
Just trust vibes to carry you through life. It'll be great.
If you're getting a wreck with somebody, just blame it on the city. Like, yeah, I always have to speak with the chief about that. I don't have his number, but
Yeah, just direct all inquiries and unhappy people to your local fire department. They could probably like deal with it. I don't know. Oh shit, I just made all my stuff go away. There we go. At some point, we are going to read. Parking at the grocery store would be a nightmare, and everyone would hate you for taking up 30 spaces and not being a firefighter. They don't know that I'm not a firefighter. And in fact, if I like run urgently at a high speed into the grocery store wearing like my uniform that I'll have gotten from like Halloween Depot, Halloween Town, what's the store? Spirit Halloween. Um, and just yelling at everyone to get out of the way and then act completely normal when I've crossed the threshold of the grocery store. Who's gonna know? They're just gonna assume that there's a fire in the grocery store. It'll be fine. There has historically never been anything wrong with acting like there's a fire in a public place when there isn't. uh, we are doing third party for CNC, but Steve still hasn't gotten the non-OGL updated. I see. You know what? I'll make a note of that. Just so I can see where we are. Cool, cool, cool. Thanks for letting me know, buddy. Watch that episode of Moonbeam City where the cops have a rivalry with the firemen. Hysterical. I've never even heard of Moonbeam City. Moonbeam City. This looks fucking cool. I love this art style. You know something? I just the other day started watching Samurai Champloo. I've seen Cowboy Bebop and I love it. I've been to Gen Con 3 times, so the last time was in 2009. I was at the con when the first Castles and Crusades small white box was released. I got number 123, I think it was 2004. That is good luck. According to numerology, you have a very special box set there. You got it, number 123 in 2004. Hang on to that, it's good luck. It was so cool to go. It must be so different now, like from when it was in 2009. I mean, it was huge. I can only imagine. Once you go blood magic, you turn chaotic evil and become an NPC. I mean, I'd be an NPC. I'd be a great NPC. Something that I would actually do for fun, just to like pass the time when I was still working in retail, was like pretend that I was like an NPC shopkeep with like my little lines of dialogue. It was great. It was a good time. So got a lot of practice. Blood magic is okay for a while, but you're gonna run out of boyfriends to sacrifice eventually, just saying. Listen, it's about quality, not quantity. Was the Mexican restaurant agave and rye? I don't think that it was. I don't even know if I can search it because I wasn't the one who like navigated us there. Is it in my history? It is not. Bummer. And it wasn't even in like the proper city of Indianapolis. We were kind of staying like 30 minutes out of town. So it's kind of like out there a little bit. But yeah, if you search Indianapolis Mexican restaurant with fire truck for sale, maybe you'll get some results. I can't imagine there are too many of those. The art is based on Patrick Nagel. Who is that? Patrick Nagel. Ooh. Did Patrick Nagel not draw Moonbeam City himself? Based on Patrick Nagel? This is great. I love this style. Very 80s. But I kind of love it. This is fucking cool. I'm gonna look it up later. Mayan, oh Mayan. But hey. Ooh, speaking of NPC Grace, not to alarm you, but I've been working on another story with your elf bard alter ego. Oh my god, do share. I loved the first one. It was so awesome. That makes me so happy. But hey, we do have a story to tell. Um, Hang on, it just got all like fuzzy for some reason. Let me try reloading. I have the PDF up here. There we go. Okay. So I thought today it might be fun to read a little bit about the death of a god, um, because isn't that the most fun? Ooh, we find out what happened to your husband. It's worse than you can possibly imagine. I want to know. I want to know that. He's fine. Surely he's fine. Something bad happening in fiction? Come on. No. So, the story that we're going to read today, or at least the story that we're going to start with, um, is about Orndul's conflict with Mordias, um, and the death of Mordias, and the formation of the Cloak of Red. Sorry, got a hydrate or dihydrate. So Orndul basically had a confrontation with the dwarves, and this whole confrontation was orchestrated by Narhite. And for those of you who might not know, Narhite is like the god of like chaos, and Orndul is just like the evil god. He's called the Red God. Um, it's a metaphor for communism. It's not. Um, Orndul is like the god of greed and malice and torture and all things terrible. Um, Onklar, if Onklar was like honorable and like wanting to kind of do the right thing in his way, but is at his heart like evil. Um, so Narhite, the god of chaos, orchestrated this whole like thing with Orndul and the dwarves, where he set the dwarves after Orndul's many treasures that lie beneath the earth, such as like gems and gold, and set the dwarves to like mine riches from the earth. This is all the property of Orndul, so Orndul was pissed. Narhite filled Orndul's head with the kind of lie, sort of, that the dwarves are possessed of incredible greatness and strength from the Allfather. The dwarves are the favorite of the Allfather's creations. Um, so Narhite was like, you better be careful starting a conflict with the dwarves. They've got some crazy shit that'll fuck you up. And Orndul's like, I'm not scared, but secretly he's a little bit scared. So Orndul storms into the Hall of the Dwarves, and that is where we will begin our tale today. So grab yourself a beverage, get cozy, settle into your task, whatever you'd like to do for the remainder of this hour, for the next 30 minutes. And we're just going to read a little bit. Oh, and last thing for context, Mordias is Orndul's sister. Also a god. She's like the goddess of nature. Okay. Trollza. Orndul, then young and full of power, came to the halls of the king, and Argrind Dark-Eye faced. And the scar-faced god... Sorry, there's a typo immediately. I'm sorry. He faced the king, Argrind Dark-Eye. Um, Argrind Dark-Eye faced him and heard his words. Orndul wove a spell around his language, using his tongue to bemuse and fool Argrind, for it came to him that these folk were numerous, powerful, and young, and he desired them, for with their power he could exact his vengeance upon the gods. Argrind, however, was full of the power of the Allfather, and had thoughts only for him, and nothing walked or crawled upon the earth that he feared. The king laughed the Red God off, and forbade the god the right to remain in his halls. In rage, Orndul turned upon the king. You have stolen that which is most precious to me. You must offer payment or suffer my vengeance. I'll suffer nothing by your hand, not torment nor death, but enjoy it as a fair wage for this wealth that you claim was yours. The red god rose in his wrath, and the room fell to shadows and darkness. Fool! And so Orndul drew forth the sword of embers and moved to strike the king dead. Now, however, the counsel of Narhite came to fruition, as the Chaos Lord knew it must. Argrind drew forth the axe of the Allfather and met Orndul's blow. The host of dwarves donned their mail and joined the fray, falling upon the red god. They hurled themselves upon Orndul in a blind rage, and the red god slew them where he met them. Some fell by his gaze alone, others to the sword of embers, so that the halls ran with blood for days after. And lo, Argrind, cased in iron, used the axe of the Allfather to drive his foe from the room. Orndul fell beneath the king of the Eargild, seeing in it the fire of the Allfather. The king's attack carried the echoes of Narhite as they lingered in the great hall of the dwarves. Orndul, unrecovered from his previous wars with the gods, his mind full of doubts from Narhite's whisperings, feared that these were the chosen of the Allfather, and that perhaps the Allfather himself might come to their aid. The red god fled the halls in a rage, cursing the dwarves, the world, and the Allfather himself. The red god fled the halls into the deep north, where his sister Mordias dwelt in peace amongst the men of those parts. There he found her and watched her, stalking her from afar. She had taken little part in the wars of the gods, and then only to hunt Orndul's minions that hounded her groves and the men under her care. As the red god followed her, she became aware of his presence, for little moved in or on the earth that she could not see. She beckoned him to her, as a brother long lost, and fed him in her halls. Orndul lingered for a while, and listened to the world of her making. Green and deep it ran, even into the earth. All things around her grew and flourished, and the primeval world echoed in her every thought and deed. The men who served her did so out of love and respect. They hunted for her and brought her food. When they fought, they asked her forgiveness for the blood they'd shed. They worshipped her and listened to her every word. This galled Orndul, and a wrath filled in his mind in which he left her in her abode. Fear stole upon the red god. Perhaps the echo of Narhite lingered in his mind. Perhaps he saw some piece of the arc of time he had not seen before. Who can say? He saw Mordias growing stronger. Though she had given the greater part of herself to the great tree, weakening herself, she was regaining her might. He saw then that the men who paid her homage gave of themselves, passing the breath of life to the Allfather into her and making her stronger. And the world, too. As it flourished, so she flourished. And he saw in her what he deemed a great deception, for she grew in strength with the world around her, where all others diminished. Orndul became envious of his sister's enlightened beauty and her power. It drove him rapturously mad. He plotted to slay her before she, too, might hound him like his brother. Also, Blaze, welcome in. Good to see you. In those days, Mordias kept her hall in a grove of birch upon a broad hill. These trees lifted to the heavens and dug deep in the ground, and grew close together like a wall. Her board she kept in the middle of a great hall of those trees, and it was always laden with food. Her servants adorned her feast hall with a likeness of her, carved in wood. Here, men made sacrifices of wild meats, grains, and fermented drinks. Each night, Mordias presided over it all, and feasted with the lords of the tribes of men. The men called this hall the Hall of Harkling, which means plentiful in their speech. Upon a dark eve, when the moon lay in the arms of Aelor, and the sun passed beneath the wall of worlds, Orndul visited Mordias in Harkling. She greeted him, and moved to make him welcome, but he leapt at her and cut her down, laying her low with the ember sword. She fell to the floor, stricken, her life's blood running into the earth and drowning the roots of the hall. She looked up, catching her brother's eye, and saw the madness of evil in it, and she made to stop her life's force ebbing from her. Men all about the hall rose against the red god and made to slay him, but none in that hall had such power, and so he cut them down. Then he saw Mordias upon the ground before him, laying in the ruin of her hall. Dropping to his knees, he called to her, "Sister, all this was foretold upon the Ark of Time. What is now must have been." She looked upon him, and with a clear voice, "With envy and treachery you have come to my halls and slain me upon my step. There is no crime greater, and for it none shall suffer you evermore, my brother." This shamed and outraged Orndul, and from that day hence he became evil incarnate, the enemy of all that was good. Slipping beyond speech, Mordias used her ebbing strength to lift a shroud of her blood, and this enveloped him in a thick mist. He rose, choking upon the ruin of her. It lifted him on high, filling his nostrils and throat with the foul taste of death. The mist choked out the air, making to kill him, but in the end he mastered it. Harvesting the mist, he wove it into a cloak that he wore ever after. He turned, cloaked in her blood, so that he might pass beneath the halls for all to see, man, beast, or god. And all men spoke afterwards that they saw Orndul leave the Harkling Hall in a cloak of red. And ever after he wore that cloak, and it bore both the sorcery of Mordias and his own hate within it, and it proved to be the greatest of his armaments. The red cloak blinded Corthane to the world, so that the gods saw nothing from the fortress of Aiul except a haze. His mind, blinded, turned away from the world, until Frafnog the dragon wrestled with the red god, shredding the cloak and scattering it across the wide world. That's a different story. The men of the north, overpowered with grief by Mordias's death, knew not what to do. Some staggered hopelessly through the wilderness, caught within the clutches of a terrible fear. Others, however, were not unmade so easily, and they found hope in the blood-stained ground of the grove where Mordias fell. When spring came, a small host of brightly colored silver trees, mostly birch and oak, came to life, growing in the ground where her blood had been spilt. They grew larger than any other tree of Aihrde, excepting only those earliest of Urgen, for these trees bore the wealth of Mordias within them. It is from this line of trees that the Moiran trees sprung. These trees are healing trees and holy trees to men. To hear the March Lords of the Eldwood speak, the great tree of the Druids is one of the last Murin trees in existence. This is not so, for the tree in the Eldwood is a descendant of the great tree in the east, which has given no seed, these many centuries. These men hated Orndul and swore vengeance upon him. Thanks, Blaze. Those who were lost in the wilderness turned to worship the other of the Val Ericune, great and small, evil and good. They found gods in these creatures and called upon them. So it was in this fashion that evil came to the world, born by Orndul's jealousy, his hatred for the dwarves, his lust for power over men, and all from the chaos Narhite caused. In honor of his fallen sister, Corthane swore an oath to forever maintain a balance of power amongst the gods. He became the justice maker. He renewed his great contest with Orndul in these years. The stain of the Red God and the death of Mordias retreated in time. The Ivorgan from the days before days still wandered wild, and the dragons made great nests across the world. For 300 centuries, Aihrde thrived beneath the light of the sun, and the men and dwarves lived out their lives as they were wont to do. So, let's find another one. I like that story a lot. I like that the death of Mordias kind of like, it convinced Corthane to, like, get involved and fucking do something, you know? And great peace came from it. The next chapter is called The Long Peace. Let's see who else we want to visit. We've talked a little bit about the dwarves. How about of the coming of the goblins? Let's do that. I like this one. During the long age of peace, the dwarves perfected their arts, becoming masters of construction and the forge. They built ever deeper halls, and as their cities sprawled along the flanks of the great mountains, mansions of stone stretched out beneath the world like the roots of trees. In Alanti, the dwarves built their homes upon the sea. The streets and buildings, carved from white marble mined from the southeastern lands of Orsal, stretching between island realms. They were a wonder to behold, and the Alanti dwarves became more learned than their fellows in the language of creation. In time of years, all the massed knowledge of the folk they gathered there and placed in monumental libraries. Then, goblins came to the world and the age of peace ended forever. The memories of those days linger only in legend and dream. From whence the goblins originated, none knew. Many whispered of dwarves turned evil, corrupted by the dark of deep places and greed. There is truth in this tale. As has been told, the dwarves were plentiful and tunneled beneath the world. They became scattered far and wide, so that many lost contact with their fellows, living out their days in solitude far from the kingdoms. These dwarves did not share in the discoveries of their kin, and they waned, and their knowledge was never as great. Orndul found these outsiders alone, and with little understanding, and made easy prey of them. Orndul taught these wayward dwarves new things, and convinced them that their brethren had spitefully kept these secrets from them. He preyed upon them, their weaknesses, desires, twisted their thoughts and buried their memories with his foul tongue, making them hate their kin. Slowly, the Red God gathered them, until there was a small host of several tens of thousands. The Red God taught these dwarves a vile brand of sorcery. When they mastered it, He revealed his true nature. He sung the song of how he was not of the void, but rather the hidden desires of the All-Father come to life, equating himself to unlimited power. Orndul told of how he stole away into the world and hid himself in dark places. He was not like them, for they consisted of the stuff of the language of creation, pounded from the substance of the void. They listened with rapt fascination, all the while wondering on this hidden desire of the All-Father which stood before them. In doing so, they changed. Their own spite corrupted them. Their bodies shriveled, and their hair fell out. They lost the form which the All-Father had cast for them, and adopted one which resembled nothing the world had seen before, a malevolent reflection of dwarves, goblins. Like their new master, the goblins loved the cool dark and the shadows. They loved water and learned to coax it, guide, and use it in all that they did. They loved it, for it carried an echo of the world they knew before their bondage. In this they assumed, as Orndul intended, a greater identity. They absorbed the images of Orndul's memory. They learned of the All-Father's thoughts as well. They saw the arc of time, the endless pools, and the sprawling mansions of the homeless house. Many became malevolent, hungry creatures, lusting for what they did not know, or they had lost or desired. But some few feasted upon the memory of the Red God, and breathed his breath, and tasting the arc of time, they gained an immortality reflected in their master. These earliest goblins, the eldritch goblins, being powerful reflections of Orndul's memory, and bathed in the power of his breath, could die only by fell magic or strange curse. The eldritch goblins were fiercely independent, and fought amongst themselves continually. Orndul coaxed them into choosing a king and queen, for he knew that without leadership they would war on one another, spoiling the war he plotted against the dwarves. They chose Ichlun as their king, and Oglate as their queen, and they were a horrid pair to see. The eldritch goblins dug great holes deep in the earth, using magic more than skill, and there they carved out a kingdom, a realm they called Lugtrunda. And there, in the depths of the world, the goblin king mated with his goblin queen, and she spawned, laying eggs upon the ground. The goblin host was horrified, for this was utterly unnatural, a bestial thing, an abomination. But Oglate nested with her eggs, mothering them, all the while laying more. So the goblin kin came into the world, those drones, warriors, and slaves to do the bidding of the eldritch goblins. Oglate they called Machen in their tongue, which is simply mother. Once in a great while, the goblin queen lays an egg laced with red veins. These are known to carry the seed of a new queen, though lesser than the mother, and these the goblins are carried off to found new colonies in other parts of the world. These lesser queens mate with eldritch goblins and produce offspring of their own. It is known by the wise that only the mother can produce other queens, and if her lines end, so do eventually all the goblins, but for the immortals. She dwelt for many long centuries in Lugtrunda, or in the common speech of men, Ichlin Yor. It is not known when the first encounters of goblin and dwarf occurred, but historical records mention the Kav Orun, the cave dwellers, in the year 5123 DF. 40 years later, the Mammoth Scrolls record a letter which mentions these same folk with the following. Master Rudlung has reported that when the corridor collapsed, it opened into a cavern just to the left of our own, running parallel to it. He found there one of the Cav Orun in possession of an uncut, undetermined stone. The Cav Orun proceeded to shout obscenities at Master Rudlung and claimed the stone for his own. He retreated down the corridor. Master Rodlung thought little of it, ordered the caravan filled, and continued construction. The scrolls report numerous similar incidents in the following years, but mostly, the goblins lived in their holes far from the workings of the dwarves, designing mischief, squabbling with one another, and preparing their vengeance upon an unsuspecting world. So I know we got 10 minutes left, but I think I'm going to go ahead and end it there for now because I'm sleepy and I'm still a little bit sick. But thank you all for hanging out. This was so much fun. If you're tuning in from Instagram, I'm sorry that I haven't been looking at chat, but thank you for watching. It's been so nice to hang out and like do this again. It's been like a few weeks and I've missed it. I always appreciate you guys like coming back and hanging out again, even when I'm gone for a couple weeks. Good night. Thank you, YouTube, New Type, Blaze. Thank you all for coming in and hanging out. It was super fun. Let me see if I can find somebody to raid. Hmm. You know what? Let's all go back to Gen Con. Gen Con is live. Why not, you know? Get yourself a Dr. Pepper. I don't drink soda. Soda pop. I might have to give it a try. I don't know if I can call myself a troll if I don't drink Dr. Pepper, you know? Tomorrow is Tuesday the 13th. Tomorrow is Tuesday the 13th. Oh, fucking, before I forget, we've just posted on all of our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. There's a TV show that's coming out. It's a competitive CNC like gaming show. It's going to be a tournament, it sounds like. And it's going to be from September 16th through the 20th. It's a Monday through Friday. And they're looking for teams of 3 to join. So definitely like check out any of our social media channels for the link. It's kind of everywhere right now. I'd recommend Instagram. That's the easiest place to grab it. But definitely check it out if you want to like be on TV and maybe win like $50,000 is the grand prize. It'll be super cool. So definitely try it out. I might try out. We'll see. It'll be great. Have a lovely evening. Thank you so much again and again for hanging out. Tomorrow is Tuesday the 13th, and we'll see you then. Bye bye.